According to NFL.com, Jay Cutler has some interest into joining the Miami Dolphins to play as a relief quarterback, and this will probably go as a season. Now, Jay Cutler definitely took on a broadcasting gig. I guess he's not too thrilled about it. I'm surprised he even talked about him broadcasting, because I don't really see him as a broadcaster. If he was a broadcaster, I just picture him mumbling for the entire broadcast, like first down for to the running backs right there and all that. I wouldn't be very impressed with Jay Cutler being announcer, but obviously if he does do it, I would give him a shot at least. So as of right now, though, it looks like he has some mutual interest, but it's not exactly confirmed whether he will sign with them. Now, when I look at Jay Cutler, he actually looked okay in 2015, and that's significant because that's when Adam Gase was the offensive coordinator under John Fox. And if you look at Jay Cutler's stat, that actually was probably his best season. Well, not so much statistically, even though the statistics were good, but ideally when you saw him play, he actually had some clutch moments here and there. And even though he did have a lot of talent around him, I would say Alshon Jeffrey, Martellus Bennett, Matt Forte, that's a pretty good group of weapons right there. So when I look at it, he definitely had a okay season. Now, obviously, 28 touchdowns, 11 picks. A lot of people say, wow, that's really good. But I think his completion percentage was still low. They still had a losing record that season. So I would still say he was okay. I wouldn't say he was good, just okay, maybe. I would give him the okay part because I still think, personality-wise, it's going to be really struggling for him to lead a team. Now, when it comes to Miami Dolphins, I definitely do respect the Miami Dolphins weapons right there, because if you look at Jay Ajayi had a good season in 2016. I felt as if he had some of the really big games. He had a lot of 200-yard games. I would feel he had more 200-yard games than 100 yards games, believe it or not. And that might be a slight concern that I think he's a little bit maybe inconsistent. He might favor going against one defense than the other, and I think that's a concern. But when I look at Kenny Stills and Devontae Parker and then top it off with Jarvis Landry, I really, really look at that and I feel confident that's a good group of guys, because Jarvis Landry reminds me of if Odell Beckham Jr. and Julian Edelman combines. He has Odell Beckham Jr.'s talent while he has Julian Edelman's toughness, and I think he could bring a mixture of that, and I think he could be really, really good at that. So I look at that, and I think Jarvis Landry, he has something right there. I think he's a gamer out there. He's definitely going to be one of the top 10 receivers one day. I definitely do appreciate how he plays and definitely enjoy watching him. Then when I look at Kenny Stills actually is a very good deep threat right there. And Jay Cutler, he likes to throw the ball deep. And Devontae Parker is a pretty good big target himself. And then here's my dark horse, or kind of your redeeming kind of receiver here, is Julius Thomas. Now, when Julius Thomas was with the Jacksonville Jaguars, he signed that big contract. Obviously, he had some injury concern, but I really feel the system is what made him do kind of poorly. Is he a system-based player? You could probably say that, but ideally in Jacksonville, they like to run more crossing routes. If you play Madden, the drag route, or more importantly, if you play football, or drag route, wherever it is, that it's like when you go horizontally across the field, more so in a West Coast offense, which is what the Jaguars are, versus in a vertical game, what he played in with Denver under Adam Gase as the OC. He ran more straight down the line, more seam route, and I think that could be really, really good. So I look at that. I think Julius Thomas can make a comeback this year and definitely redeem himself and maybe emerge as one of the top 10 tight ends in the league, because I truly believe he still has the ability. Obviously, he might be a little bit of a system-based player, so you'd have to basically be used on like seam routes for verticals. If you play Madden, if you know that, or more importantly, if you play football, that's what it does right there. And I would say when I look at Adam Gase, he's a good head coach. He was definitely a very underrated head coach. Not enough people were talking about him when he was emerging as one of the top head coaching in the league, because when you look at him, he definitely did a lot in Miami. His first season, he takes them to the playoffs, and plus he didn't have his starting quarterback for the entire year, so he's going to go for the same adversity. So I'm not too concerned of the Miami Dolphins. They might start off slow, but they started off slow in 2016, and look what happened to them. They actually ended up making the playoffs. Now, also, when I look at it, Vance Josephs, his DC, was just hired as the head coach of the Denver Broncos, and that sounds a good sign of coaching right there. Also, one thing for sure about that could bring some concerns that they don't have an answer at defensive coordinator. But, however, in 2016, when Byron Maxwell and Kiko Alonso, I felt kind of revived their careers a little bit. Because Byron Maxwell, he looked as if that this guy cannot play number one corner when he's playing with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, since he played with one season with the Miami Dolphins, I have a little bit more comfortability. He's not a shutdown corner, but hey, he's someone right there that you at least feel as if that, wow, you could actually possibly rely on him as a good cornerback in the league. Good, not great, but it's still kind of reliable right there because he's basically their only good corner. Then you have Kiko Alonso. Kiko Alonso will definitely emerge right there. The linebacker situation might be a little iffy. I know they signed Lawrence Timmons, and he gets a lot of hurry, so stopping the run might be there. But overall, when I look at it, Jay Cutler is going to get himself a pretty talented team, and he's getting the OC that he's working with in Chicago when he was there, and he did pretty well right there. That was probably his best season. And when I look at him, I think that he could have a pretty good season. I would say somewhere around 20-something touchdowns. I'm not sure, though. The big concern is whether he's in football shape. Was he in Fox Sports when he was there? Was he just thinking to himself, I'm not gonna play anymore, so I'm just gonna put myself not even into football shape? And I don't think he might have been in football shape, which could be a concern, obviously, because he might already be behind the game. And it's important to stay in shape even as a quarterback, which might not require the most athletic ability in the world, but it's good to stay in shape just because you're in there on every offensive play, and it's gonna be very, very important right there. And when you look at Jay Cutler in 2015, if you remember the quarterback, what makes a perfect quarterback, they try to pick every individual characteristic. They thought about, I want Aaron Rodgers' accuracy, I want Tom Brady's mind, I want Russell Wilson's legs. And they actually ended up picking Jay Cutler's arm, which is, I look at as, wow, they really, really enjoyed watching or just appreciate what Jay Cutler did in the 2015 season. Now, there are some differences from Adam Gase's offense when he's in Chicago now into the 2017 season. Obviously, Matt Forte is a receiving back. Jordan Howard might have been there in 2015. He might not have been. But ideally, they have more of receiving back kind of thing right there. When you have in Miami, you're going to have to kind of like that. In Chicago, you had more of the receiving factor for the running backs versus in Miami, you're not really going to have that with Jay Ajayi. Also, you're not going to have a big target to super rely. I know Devontae Parker's has some good size to him, but he ain't Alshon Jeffrey exactly, so he's going to have to work on that. So the system's a little bit different. But overall, there's no doubt in my mind that I think the Dolphins can make a push for the playoffs. Now, the reason why maybe that Kaepernick hasn't been rumored, well, he has been rumored, but maybe not as favorably or strongly, is because maybe familiarity is one of the big things right there. Also, I don't think Jay Cutler would be as big as a distraction. I think it might be a little bit hard to have a quarterback with distraction because Ryan Tannehill actually might come back mid-season. Also, one thing for sure, Colin Kaepernick would definitely need to be a project. So I think if you would bring him in, you would have to put him in the system for a season just to be a decent backup quarterback or something in that regards. And I think if there's any coach to do it, it's Adam Gase. But ideally, I think they went with Jay Cutler here, or at least looking at he would go after him is because of familiarity. And this isn't the first time that Adam Gase has gone after a retiring quarterback. He went after Peyton Manning last season. Obviously, Peyton Manning declined because it was sometime in December when Ryan Tannehill got injured. And I look at that, and I think this is just kind of what Adam Gase does. He kind of appreciates having those molded quarterbacks less than those project quarterbacks. Maybe that's the reason why he's a successful OC. Who knows? I'm kind of surprised that they're not sticking with Matt Moore as much, because I just feel as if I would just go with Matt Moore, because I think that would just be kind of easier. I thought he did pretty well in 2011 when he came in for relief. Now in 2016 he's coming in relief. I thought he did pretty good in overall, but it looks like they're interested in signing another quarterback. But overall, guys, some of the stuff I've been talking about, I've talked about the quarterback situation in Miami with Ryan Tannehill's injury. I talked about Colin Kaepernick. I have talked about the expectations of the Miami Dolphins. I've talked a lot of Miami Dolphins football recently, but check those in the link in the description. I'll see you guys later. See ya.
I'm not sure.